What is up, everybody? Sean the D Man here, and welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are doing great. I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. Hope you guys had a great weekend. We are here to talk about it. Welcome to Derry, Season 1, Episode 6. This one, I would say, was this one, I don't know, I don't think I would call it a filler episode, but it kind of felt like that. Like, not much went on, but stuff went on. It was kind of like just adding a little bit of backstory to a few characters and things like that. So, all right. So obviously the episode opens up with Juniper Hill back in, I believe it was 1930. Like it was like 27 years prior to what's going on in season 1 of the show. So we see a much younger Mrs. Kersh, and she has like a kid with her, and the kid has been talking about a clown, trying to get her to come down to, I guess, like the basement or the pipes or something like that. But we come to find out there's more to it. So I guess I'm just gonna combine both of those. So obviously we see the red balloon. I really loved the black and white, and then um the red balloon and the Pennywise's eyes were, those were like the color standout features of those two particular parts of the episode. But which people who probably are familiar with the Stephen King universe and books and stuff like that probably already knew this, but Mrs. Kersh is the daughter of I forgot I don't remember his name, but he looks like Pennywise. We see later in the episode where Lily goes to Mrs. Kersh's house to, I guess, kind of talk to her and things like that. She's flipping through a book of photos, and she sees a photo that looks awfully similar to the facial structure of Pennywise. And then Mrs. Kersh kind of shows up and talks with her, talk about how um she went to the sewer, and Mrs. Kersh is kind of like, consulting her and things like that. But then it gets kind of like interesting because she's like, "You saw him, didn't you?" And I was like, "Oh, she must know about him." And so yeah, she does. So she does know about him. She was there 27 years ago. Um, it's probably not her dad. It's probably just like Pennywise manifesting himself to look like her dad. I could be wrong. I'm sure people who probably know more familiar with it probably can correct it or not. But and so it's pretty gruesome because we're going back and forth with this flashback, and we get to the part where like Pennywise basically tries to eat the kid. Mrs. Curtis escapes. The door gets stuck, and the kid dies. And it was all just like, oh my goodness. It was yeah, it was pretty like, you didn't see it, but like just the screaming and the crunching, and just it's like, ugh, that's such a terrible way. Um, but then Pennywise is just I guess transforms himself to look like her dad, like Mrs. Kirsch's dad, to get her to open a door. So I'm curious on a little bit more about that. I'm sure there's probably going to be, if this is not explained in season 1, if they do a season 2, I'm sure this is probably where they'll explain a little bit more about it. Um, so that's a pretty interesting little part of the episode. You you obviously have Halloran. He makes it back to base, or makes it back to their hangout spot, and gonna find out Charlotte hid Hank Grogan here. Halloran wants nothing to do with it, and so he leaves. Um, he later like talks with Hank Hanlon about, his gift. Like, he talked about how when he was 9, he could see dead people. Like he could see them, but it sounds like they can't see him unless he acknowledges them. And so he talked about how when he because this was one of the things from last week's episode because I was very curious about what was this box, what was so terrifying about this box, and then we saw at the end of the episode of episode 5 where Halloran comes out of the sewer and he just sees that dead military guy, and then come to find out it's um, he can see dead people, so he locked all of this away into this box, and he had not seen like a dead person or anything like that from when he was 9 up until the events of episode 5 when Pennywise, I guess disguised as his grandfather, basically like forced him to open the box, and then it all came out. And so there's that part. Um, I'm curious on so obviously around the town they're looking for Hank Grogan. They're putting up wanted signs. There's still like signs of Phil, Susie, and Teddy still up and everything like that. But there's now signs of Hank Grogan going up. Later on in the episode, towards the end, we see like a group of like guy in a bar talking like, have we checked here? Have we checked here? Have we checked there? And then the sheriff comes in and says he got a tip. I'm curious on who gave him this tip because I feel like it was. I want to say it's Mrs. Kersh, but like she obviously likes Hank Grogan, so I don't see why she would be the one to um uh leave a tip, like tip off to where he's located. So I'm curious on who was it. Because he said it was a woman. He said it was a woman that called. So, and I mean, her and Charlotte are the only ones. Well, I mean, obviously, and the kids and Hanlon are the only ones know where he's at. So I'm curious on if they'll be brought up on and like talk about who basically who snitched. So there's that. Rich and Marge seem to be bonding. Like I didn't like Marge at the beginning. She's kind of grown on me a little bit. She stands up to Patty and her trio, and her eye looks just looks gnarly. But Rich gives her like an eye patch and things like that. Lily, I haven't really talked about Lily. She she is going through the ringer these past couple episodes, like because obviously she found the fragment that warded off Pennywise, and she's talking about going back down into the sewer and killing him. Um, Obviously Ronnie doesn't like the idea because it was Lily's idea in the first place to go down there where they almost died. Um, Ronnie calls Lily crazy, and Lily gets a little tense. She's like, "What did you just call me?" And because it looks like Lily's about ready to hit Ronnie across the face, and she's not letting anybody else touch the fragment. She's like the only one. I don't know if that's just because she. I don't know. Maybe she just wants that protection or something. Not like in a selfish way, but she just kind of she knows it could ward off Pennywise, so maybe she just wants to hold on to it and keep it to herself. And again, not in a selfish way, but um, she has like because she has like a freak out moment in class where like Pennywise does the whole pickle father routine, and she pulls it out and it does glow. So that does mean Pennywise is there. She like freaks out and she just looks crazy. She just looks crazy, and I feel bad for her. Like the actress who's playing her is doing a very good job. And interestingly enough, side note, I didn't know this, but like in the early episodes, she's like about the same height as like some of the kids and everything. But because they had to suspend for like 8 months or something like that, the production of the show because of the writer's strike and all that, she like pretty much all the kids, like Will and Lily in particular, grew, and so Lily is now taller than most of everybody, and Will, that's why Will looks a little bit older than he does. So I did not know that. I saw that the other week, after episode 5 had came out. But um, so Mrs. Kersh, she has a clown outfit. She called herself Periwinkle. So she was actually at the cemetery that night. So I think what it was implying was the photo that Will took that showed the clown figure and everything wasn't Pennywise. It was Mrs. Kersh. Because she talked about how she followed them to the cemetery to uh try to see her dad again. I don't know if it's also meaning that she was in the sewers as well. Um, Maybe I'm not entirely sure if it was also saying that she was also in the sewers, but I don't think so because she sounded very very shocked when she learned that they went into the sewers. Now again, she probably may have went into the sewers herself, after Lily had brought it up and maybe tried to find Pennywise herself. Maybe I'm not entirely sure. Um, and then what else happened in this episode? Hanlon he hit Will. I was surprised. Like, well, I mean, Will did clap back, and because he was talking about how because Hanlon's talking about how he had to bury Paulie, his wingman, and he almost shot Will and everything, and he talks about how Will he cannot leave the base without his permission, and Will's like, no, you talk about be a man, you don't run for your troubles, yada yada yada, and Will's just kind of like making accusations that Pennywise is messing with his head and everything because Will says like I would never leave my friend because Hanlon pushes back and talks about how like you're not me, you know, because they are different. And he's like, "You're not me," and then Will's like, "You're right, I'm not," because I wouldn't leave my friends to die. And then his dad just backhand him. I was like, "Oh my gosh!" I was not expecting that. And so everybody is on edge, and so like the whole Pennywise fiasco that's going on is getting people on the edge. Because then they got more orders to probably go back in the sewer to try, or at least try to find the pillars and stuff like that. Halloran's he's advising against things. He's like, we made this thing mad. So wild. It was a filler episode, but it gave you information on things to progress the story because now at the end of the episode, you see some of the townsfolk, their little mob show up at the I think people called it the black spot is what it was called. Um, they're all the way wearing masks and everything, and it looks like they're about to. I think that was one of the promos for the show where like it was on fire. So because we got 2 episodes left, so I'm very curious on how it's gonna end. Is it gonna end on like on a cliffhanger, or is it gonna like wrap up? Because and also too, nobody else is. I'm curious on if they're gonna pull this to where like you think the kids are gonna make it out, and then just one by one they don't. Because the Will Hanlon, I believe people said he's the dad of one of the kids in It Chapter One. So I think he survives, but he dies in a fire or something like that. But everybody else, because there's people also talk about Ronnie dying because in It Chapter One, Beverly is talking to like she hears voices coming from her sink and everything. I think it was her sink. Um, and one of the voices it comes out and says, "My name is Ronnie." So they could be two separate Ronnies, or could be the same Ronnie in this show. So again, it's gonna be interesting to see on how this plays out, because we got 2 episodes left, so I'm very excited to see what happens the rest of the way. But guys, that's relatively it. Just my initial thoughts of episode 6 of it. Welcome to Derry. If you're new to the channel, be sure you hit that like and subscribe button, comment below, tell me what you thought about the episode, tell me what you thought about the series, and other than that, I will see you guys in the next video. Y'all have a good one.